Thank you all so much for joining our webinar today. In today's webinar, we'll be talking about AI and data science, and we'll also be presenting a use case on how you can use Watson's IBM Data Refinery to clean your data and to bring it to a presentable format. Before we begin, I would like to introduce myself, tell you guys a little bit about myself, where I work, and some things that I've been working on currently, and I would encourage you to do the same. Let's make this session interactive. Please introduce yourself on the chat panel. Let us know where you're from and what are you currently working on, what do you find most interesting about data science, and so on. So my name is Hashim, and I work for IBM. I've been working for IBM for the past 4.5 years now, and I'm currently based in Dubai. And the thing that I'm extremely passionate about is technology, and more specifically, my practice areas are AI, blockchain, and web application development. And the most interesting thing that I found about data science is the fact that how, with a click of a few buttons, you can sort of visualize an entire data set of millions of rows and columns, right? So I think that is something extremely fascinating and something extremely valuable as well. So, now I would like my colleague Murdul to introduce himself.
Right. Thank you, Hashim. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you're all safe and doing well. My name is Mridul Bhandari, and my pronouns are he and him. So I work as a developer advocate at IBM, and I am currently based in Dubai. So something I really love is I really love, learning about technology, working with technology, and coding, programming. That's really my passion. And apart from that, I'm also interested in playing sports like football and badminton, and I do follow cricket. These are some things I do apart from my work. And the things I find interesting about data science is how you can utilize, a lot of data, millions of rows of data, and you can create and insights from that, and that you can use that to uh, benefit your business by changing your business model accordingly, and going ahead and taking decisions purely based on data and logic.
Thank you, Myrtul, so much. So let us proceed with our presentation for today. The Before we go into the subject matter, there's a few frequently asked questions that I would like to address. So number one, all of the sessions are recorded, and the recording for the sessions are automatically available right after the session, on the same link that you used to join. And for today's webinar, we will be using IBM Cloud in order to complete the use case. So you can create an IBM Cloud account for free, and the links for that will be shared on the chat panel by my colleagues. And although it's not necessary, there are a few prerequisites for this webinar, and these will be mentioned in the GitHub link to the GitHub repository, which will also be posted in the chat. And if there is any other question that you have, please feel free to post it on the chat panel or the question section, and me or one of my colleagues will get back to you. And if you would like to stay in touch with our upcoming events, please join us and our IBM developer community. Before we begin, just a few things to notice about Crowdcast. On the bottom, you'll be able to see two panels, the Q&A panel and the Ask a Question panel. If at any point during the webinar you have any questions, you can feel free to post these questions in the webinar in one of these two panels. And on the top right, you'll see the follow button. By clicking on this follow button, you can stay in touch with us with all our upcoming events, webinars, workshops that we'll be doing. And then finally, we have the workshop resources. Everything that we are using in this webinar, including the slides, are going to be available if you click on this button here. Let me go over the agenda for the session today. In today's session, we will be talking about how you can collect, cleanse, and enhance your data. We'll also be talking about data science and its subsets, and then we'll move on to the different problems that you encounter with data and how you can fix them. And then finally, my colleague Myrtul will take you through the code lab, where he'll show you how you can cleanse your data using IBM Refinery. All right, so let's get started. So, what is artificial intelligence? Well, AI refers to the ability of your computer to act like a human being by performing tasks that you would normally associate with humans. So, tasks like self correction, learning, communicating, etc. And one of the common misconceptions about AI is that it's supposed to replace human beings. However, that's not exactly accurate. AI is supposed to augment our abilities as humans, and which will allow us to do even more complicated tasks. So that's about AI. Now, for the subsets of AI, we start off with uh, at the top level we have artificial intelligence, which is the technique which enables machines to mimic human behavior. Basically, it's a broader concept of machine learning, machines being able to carry out tasks which we would call smart, like a program with the ability to learn and reason like humans and solve tasks. But with this, we don't really have any idea of how we will solve the problems. And this is where machine learning comes in. And machine learning is like the application of AI where the system improves its performance in a given task using statistical methods in the data given. And then further on, we have deep learning, which is a subset of machine learning. And this technique uses neural networks to analyze different factors, classify images, and so on. The neural networks are basically inspired by the structure of the human brain. And that's the whole concept of deep learning and how it works. And you can call deep learning the next evolution of machine learning. Now, this is the hierarchy where AI is the technique to make machines intelligent, and a level after that is machine learning, where we use statistical methods and algorithms to solve problems and make predictions. And then we have deep learning, which uses neural networks to classify images and does speech recognition and so on. Now, I want to talk a little bit about data science. So, what is data science? Data science is the science of handling the data and is an interdisciplinary area which uses statistical methods, machine learning algorithms, certain computer science techniques such as algorithms, data storage, and web development to tackle business problems. And now that we are aware of the differences in the field, let's talk about the data science methodology that we use to build models or applications. The data science methodology is an iterative process that guides us on the ideal approach to solving a problem with data science. And the steps in the data science methodology are mentioned over here. So we have 5 steps, which are problem to approach, requirements to collection, understanding to preparation, modeling to evaluation, and deployment to feedback. Now, I know this might be a little bit cryptic for those of you who are new to data science, but don't worry. We will in the next coming slides we'll go into each of these methods one by one and explain to you what these are. Right. So let's start with the first one, which is problems to approach. And with this method, we are trying to get a better understanding of the problem. We are basically trying to answer the question of what the problem is that we are trying to solve. So, in other words, we are seeking a clarification on the problem. And once that a strong understanding is established, and then we can proceed to answer the questions of how we can use data to to solve whatever the question is that we were looking to answer. Now, for that, we need to choose a analytical approach in order to identify what different types of patterns will be needed to address the question. And we need to decide which one to go for. Right. So there are four patterns. The analytical, uh, we have the analytical model, we have the descriptive model, statistical, and classification model. So the predictive model is used when the question is to determine the probabilities of an action. And then we have the descriptive model, which is used to show the relationships and how and we look at the clusters of similar activities and preferences. We have the statistical analysis, which applies to the problems that require some sort of count. And then lastly, the classification model, which applies to problems that require a yes or no answer to predict a response. So this is about the first methodology in the data science pipeline, which is from problem to approach. Then we come to requirements to collection. Now, prior to undertaking the data collection and preparation stages, it is vital to define the data requirements for the decision classification tree. What we mean by that is we need to identify the necessary data content, formats, and sources for initial data collection. And once that's done, the data requirements are revised and the decisions are made on whether more data is required or less data is required. And and then the data is collected, and once the data is collected, then the data scientists can have a good idea of what they will be working with. That was the second step. And then we have from understanding to preparation. Coming to understanding and preparation, in this phase encompasses all the activities related to the construction of a data set, and you need to determine if the data you collected is representative of the problem to be solved or not. You will also need this descriptive statistics that would become variables in the model. And once you have an understanding of the data, you come to the data preparation phase. This is one of the most, you can say, time consuming phases in the pipeline. Which Because in this step you need to address issues such as missing values, invalid values, removing duplicate values, and so on. And another thing that we do is feature engineering, which is when we use our knowledge of the data to create features that can make the machine learning algorithms work. And feature engineering is something we'll also be covering in more detail later. Let's move on to the next step, which is from modeling to evaluation. In this phase, the data science have the chance to develop a sample and determine if the sample is good enough or it needs to be changed. Uh, Models can be either descriptive or predictive, and descriptive models make predictions such as if a person did a certain type of action, are they likely to do something else or not, right? So if I'm at a store, I'm buying something. If I buy a certain item, then you would use a descriptive model to make a prediction of whether I'm likely to buy a certain another item as well. And then we have predictive models, which yield a solid yes or no answer to outcomes. And then we also have evaluations which are performed during the model development, and also before during the model development, and even before that. For the evaluation, we have a diagnostic measure phase, which ensures that the model is working as intended. And we also have statistical significance testing, which ensures that the data is properly handled and interpreted in the model. Then we come to the last stage, which is the deployment to feedback. And as the name suggests, this is the final stage in the pipeline, the data science pipeline. And it comes in after the evaluation. After the evaluation, once we are confident that the model works as it's supposed to, we will deploy it, and then we'll keep on continuously gathering feedback from the model to ensure that it is actually behaving the way it's supposed to. So these were the five main uh, steps in the data science methodology, and the diagram that you're currently showing on your screen basically summarizes that. The data science methodology, it starts off with understanding the business problem. We need to have a good understanding of what the problem is that we are trying to solve. Basically, what is the question that we are trying to answer from the data? And then we come to the requirements that we need, what kind of data to collect, and so on. And then we proceed to the data collection phase, and then the data understanding phase, where we sort of get an idea of what the data is it representative of the problem or not, and so on. And then once we have figured that out, we move on to the data preparation phase, where we clean the data and bring it in a format where it is ready to be analyzed and ready to be fed into the model. Then we build the model, we evaluate it. If the model is working as is expected, then we deploy it, and we continuously gather feedback and use that feedback to make changes to the model and make sure that it becomes more refined over time. So on a high level, this is what the data science methodology looks like. Before we discuss anything, in one of the main ideas of one of the main things that we need to understand is the types of data. And on a high level, there are two kinds of data: qualitative data, which describes the object under consideration using a finite set of discrete classes. And what that means is that this type of data can't be counted or measured easily using numbers, and therefore it needs to be divided into categories. An example of that would be a gender of a person, for example, male, female, or other. Right. So this is, it's not really a count; it's a category in which you'll assign the data, and then secondly, we have quantitative data. Quantitative data tries to quantify things, and it does so by considering numerical values that make it countable in nature. So, for example, if you're looking at the price of a cell phone or discount offered or the number of ratings on a product, all of these all of these values, they would fall under quantitative data types. Now, qualitative and quantitative data, it can be further broken down into two categories. The number one, in qualitative data, we have nominal data, which is nominal data is basically a set of values that don't process in natural ordering, right? So if I were to talk about the color of a smartphone, this the color, you cannot consider you cannot like, there is no order in a color, right? You can't say, okay, black is higher than white, or white is higher than blue, or something like that, right? There's no natural ordering. However, ordinal data, on the other hand, it has a natural ordering, right? So if you're looking at clothes sizes, for example, small is smaller than medium, medium is smaller than large, and so on. Or if you were looking at letter grades such as ABC, ABC, A comes, A would you would A would be first, B second, and C would be the third, right? So there's a natural ordering in that type of data. Then coming to quantitative data, it can again be broken down into discrete and continuous. And for discrete data, the numerical values which fall uh, which fall under discrete data would be integers or whole numbers. And an example of that would be number of students in a class, or number of workers in a company, or number of speakers on a smartphone. Right? So this would come under discrete data. And then we have continuous data, which can be in a form of fractions or decimals also. So, for example, if we are talking about the frequencies at which a cell phone operates, uh, so this would come under continuous data. So that's about the type of data that we have. Data can also be presented to us in different formats. It can be structured, semi-structured, or unstructured. Example of structured data very commonly would be data that we get in a CSV file or an Excel file. This kind of data would normally uh, be in a form of rows and columns, right? So it is this kind of data, as you can call it, structured. And then we have structured data, which requires some kind of processing, such as Word documents or email attachments, and so on. And then finally, we have unstructured data, which would be images, multimedia files, and so on. And basically, these are the three kinds of formats in which data can be presented to us. Now, we cannot talk about data science without addressing the problems, some of the commonly faced problems that we have with data. So, in the next coming slides, that's what I'll be talking about. The main issue with the data is, number one, obviously, it's the getting the right data. And for this problem to be avoided, it's really important that you understand the problem and understand the business objectives or business goals that need to be solved. Another challenge that your data that you have with getting the right data is that it should be in the right that data can come from different sources, which would lead to issues, because it can be different formats, such as you know it could be coming from CSV, and it can be in a JSON file, right? So it can be in a different form of structures. And there, so you need to prepare data and make sure that it's in the right format, right? And it's in a format that can be used appropriately, right? So these are all the problems, all the challenges that come with getting the data. So you have to make sure that the data that you collect is appropriate, it's actually representative of the problem that you're solving, and also to make sure that it's in a format which can be processed easily. Another challenge that we have with the data is the completeness and quality. So you need to ensure that the data is usable, and uh, an issue is that the data might not be complete, it can contain missing values, and so on. So you need to make sure that the data is reflective of the reality, it's not biased, and before you can process it, you'll need to tackle these issues. Uh, another one of the problems, or one of the things that need to be done, is feature engineering, which refers to uh, creating the most useful predictor variables, and then selecting them to make a predictive model, right? So sometimes and what this means essentially is that, let's say you have a data and you're using it to analyze if a loan can be given to a certain person or not, and in that data you have different columns which measure the incomes of that particular person, right? So instead of having that income divided in different columns, we can create a separate column where we uh, sort of sum the total income, right? So we are creating a new variable which can be used as a predictive variable for the model, right? So that's basically what feature engineering means. And then we have data pre-processing, right? So with data pre-processing, it mainly refers to uh, converting or mapping data from raw form into another format, which can then be used for further analysis. And it is also called data cleaning or data wrangling. And some of the common techniques used for data pre-processing are data handling the missing values, formatting the data normalization, and data binning. And all of these four uh, techniques will be discussed in the upcoming slides. So let's look at the number one problem, which is dealing with missing values. So in order to deal with missing values, one of the things that we can do in order to account for that is to check with the source of the data, right? So we can go back to the source where we acquired the data from and see if we can, uh, you know, uh, get the value that we are missing. Or another thing that we can do is we can drop that value completely, right? You can either drop the variable or you can drop the data entry completely. However, if we determine that the value is essential to our data analysis, then we might need to replace it, and we can replace it using the average, or using a value which occurs very frequently in the data. And the last thing is, and if we determine that it's completely fine to leave it as a missing value, it doesn't affect our analysis, then we can leave it as a missing value also. Uh, uh, another step in data pre-processing is data formatting. So data is usually collected from different places and by different people, which means that it can be stored in very different formats, right? So data formatting essentially means bringing data into a common standard of expression that allows users to make meaningful comparisons. Right? It's as a part of the dataset cleaning, data formatting ensures that data is consistent and it's easily understandable. We also have data normalization, which is to bring the data into a similar range for more useful comparisons. And I will like to explain that with an example. So let's consider a data set containing two features, age and income, right? And age will, let's say, range from 0 to 100, and the incomes can range from 0 to 20,000 or even higher. So as you can see, income is about 10,000 times larger than age, right? So these two features are very different in their ranges, and when we do analysis like linear regression, the attribute of income will intrinsically influence the result more due to its larger value. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a more important predictor, right? So uh, but since that value is larger, it will bias the predictions that we get. So in order to avoid that, we will have to normalize these variables, and we can do that by bringing them into a range of, let's say, 0 to 1, right? So as you can see, this is an example of a this is some sample data, and this on the right is that data which has been normalized. So it comes under a similar sort of range, and this avoids the bias that comes from one value being larger than the other. And then we have finally we have data binning, where we create different categories from a set of numerical values for useful comparisons. And data binning can improve efficient accuracy of the predictive models. It can be used to sort of group a set of numerical values into smaller number of bins to have a better understanding of the data distribution, right? So using an example of that would be using binning, we can categorize prices into three different bins, such as low price, medium price, high price. And then you can, after categorizing those into three different bins, then it can lead to better visualization of the data and can help you get further insights into the data. And the last thing that we have is turning categorical values into numerical values. So uh, in some cases, we might need to the model that we create might not be able to work with alphanumeric values such as male or female, so we might need to change them into 0 to 1. Same thing can be applied to, if we have employed, unemployed, we'll have to change it to perhaps 0 to 1. So on a high level, these were basically the different kinds of problems that we face with data, and how do we sort of assess them, how do we make sure that we avoid them, and so on. Now, finally, before we move on to the hands-on session, there are some tools that we can use for data science, which are most commonly used and easily available also. For data store, we have SQL, MongoDB, Hadoop, Spark. For visualization, we have the pandas library. We have another tool in IBM which we use, IBM Cognos. Some of the frameworks such as Python's, R, Jupyter notebooks, and so on. And also some libraries which we use are Spark, Machine, mlib, and so on. So as you continue on with your data science journey, you will work with one or more of these technologies. And yeah, these are some of the tools that we use in while working with data. So next thing we have is the hands-on session, and for that I will hand it over to my colleague Mridul, which will uh, which will show you how you can clean data using Data Refinery. All right, so over to you, Mridul.
All right, thank you, Hashim. I'll just start sharing my screen. I hope you all can see my screen. Hashim, is my screen being shared? Yeah. So, for the hands-on today, I would like you all to sign up on the IBM Cloud account. So for that, you can go to ibm.biz/data-refinery-2021, that is 2021, and you can sign up for your account. And once you go to this link, a page like this should open up. So it's a very simple process to create a free IBM Cloud account. You can use this link to create a free IBM Cloud account, which I've shared with you. I'll repeat the link again. It is ibm.biz/data-refinery-2021, 2021. So you can go to this link, and this page should open up, and you can enter your email address, your password. You can just verify email, and it should take a minute, and you should be able to get an OTP. And once you do that, you can just click on create an account, and you should be good to go. So the link, I'll repeat again, is ibm.biz/data-refinery-2021. So Naira has also shared that in the chat, so you can go ahead and you can check it out. You can go to that link from there. Next, the second link is for the repository, the GitHub repository, which we'll be utilizing today for the hands-on session. So you can go to this link, ibm.biz/data-refinery-repo. So it is, I'll just repeat it again, that is ibm.biz/data-refinery-repo. So once you go to this link, the other link, the repository should open up, and this is the GitHub repository. This is all the prerequisites and the requirements that is required for our session today. So you can also go ahead. I'll go through the README so that you're familiar with it. So this is all these steps are documented here. So you can go ahead. You can click on this. So once you click on this, it will open the IBM Cloud sign up link, and this is the hands-on guide. The slides are available here, and the workshop replay is available here, which Hashim mentioned that will also be available on the same link. So it's just in hyperlinked over here. So if you can, if you have the access to the repository, you can have everything. And the prerequisites. So any prior experience with data processing would be helpful. But if you have no prior experience, you could also read this blog as a reference. This was mentioned as a prerequisite. But if you haven't, there's no issues. You can go ahead and read this after the session. The link is in the GitHub repository, and this is the GitHub repository. Now, for our session today, there's a data set that we'll be using that is German credit data. So this CSV, you can download it. So you can go and click on this green button, and you can click on download zip. So a zip file would be downloaded with the repository in that. You can unzip it, or you could also install it using the GitHub desktop. If you're familiar with GitHub, you can install it with GitHub desktop if it's already installed on your system. So you can click on open with GitHub desktop. And the next thing, the other option is using the command line or terminal. You can download the GitHub repository. So you can just copy this and you can paste in your terminal or command line, and this will clone the repository to your system. So I hope you have all created your IBM Cloud account by now, and you have access to the repository. The links are all shared in the chat. I repeat, the links are all shared in the chat, and all the workshop resources are also mentioned in the GitHub repository. Now, before we proceed ahead with the session, I'll actually go through the data set which we'll using today. So the German hyphen underscore create hyphen underscore data is the file name, and .csv. It's a CSV file, and it is we have taken this data set from the machine learning repository. It is Center for Machine Learning and Intelligent Systems, and they have this data set which is freely available to for various projects you can utilize for. So this gives the attribute information, all the attributes that are present in the data set, and I'll be going over through it, and we'll be explaining the attributes individually so that you're familiar with the data set. Because it's very important when you're working with data to get familiarized with your data, to understand what sort of data is coming, what sort of attributes are present, because this really helps us understand what will be the objective and what we're trying to predict from this. In data science, usually we're trying to either predict or we're trying to diagnose something. So it's very important for us to get familiarized with the data set. So till the time you guys are creating IBM Cloud accounts and you're installing a GitHub repository, I'll actually go through the data set. So the first attribute is checking status. So this is basically, it's checking the status of an existing checking account. So we have something called savings account and a checking account. So this checks whether the customer has a checking account or not. So, and if he has a checking account, what are the number of transactions which are being conducted in his account? So it's 0 to 200. It's in a form of a range. If it's less than 0, if he has a checking account but he has not created, that is, he has not done any transactions, or if he has no checking account, it is no checking account. And if the transactions are greater than 200, we write greater than 200, and that means it's been for more than a year also, that we assume that, because more than 200 transactions in a year is not something which is normal. So this is about the attribute information about this. Then the loan duration. Now the duration of loan which the customer has taken, and this is mentioned in months. So like if you see 31 months, 18 months, 15 months, 28 months, so on. So it's all mentioned over here. And the credit history. So if he has any prior payments which have been delayed, or if he has an outstanding credit, or all credits have been paid back duly, and no credits have been taken. So we mentioned all this, and if there's a delay in paying off in the past, and if there's it's a critical account, or other credits existing, like not at this bank. If he has an account at a different bank, but he has taken a loan from this bank. So let's take an example, like a customer X has an account in a bank Y, but he has taken a loan from a bank Z. So the data set we have is for the it refers to would be referring to the bank Z, and this is the customer and the customer history for the loans taken from bank Z. And we can take it like this and we can understand. So this is the credit history. And next we have the purpose of the loan. So we have something called education loan, a car loan, a housing loan. So we have various type of loans. Uh, Say same way, what is the purpose of the loan? So whether the customer is buying a new car or a used car, is it for a furniture, equipment, radio, television, domestic appliances, repairs, education, vacation, then a business and others. So there are so many, purposes you can take the loan for, and we have accounted for all of that. And then what is the loan amount? So what amount of loan he has taken, and this is very important because how much is this, because this puts a this is something he's taking from the bank. So what is the loan amount? So suppose something like furniture would not require a very high loan like as equal to a car. So it's very important to correlate these features with each other. So that's why loan amount and loan purpose, they kind of correlate in the data set. So this will be when we go in the diagnostic, this we will be using this. And then something called existing savings. So let's say customer is of this bank has any existing savings with the bank, if he has any savings accounts or any bonds with the bank. So if it's less than 100 or 100 to 500, this is in terms of the bonds is terms of the currency value, not in terms number of bonds. So like he has bonds worth, let's for example 500 to 1000. So he have bonds and savings together, the amount is valued up to 500 to 1000. That's the range of the existing savings he has with the bank. Then we have the employment duration. Now the employment duration, as it's easy to understand, it's basically explain how long has this customer being employed, or he's been working in the industry. So we write the range, because if he's not if employed for less than a year, he's a critical. It's very it's tough for him to get approved for loan, because there are chances that he might not have an existing savings, and he might not be able to pay back the loan also, because he his he must have just started working, so his remuneration might not be as high as it's compared to an experienced person. So the employment duration is mentioned here. Then we have the installment percentage. So in the how much percentage of the loan is he'll be paying off, disposable income. That is, how much percentage the installment amounts to what percentage of his salary. If it's less, then means it will be easy for him to repay the loan, and he has higher chance of getting approved. Then there's a gender of the consumer, which is mentioned over here. And then we have others on loan. So let's say the loan amount is really high. So if he's applying, he might apply with a co-applicant, because if he's starting a business, he might be applying for with his business partner, he might be applying for a loan. And if he's taking an equipment, or in he or she is taking an equipment, or buying furniture, they might be he or she might be have the co-applicant as a spouse. So that's what's mentioned over here. And this is the current residence duration. So how long he has been staying in his residence, which is mentioned currently, and how long it's been. What is the duration? So this is mentioned in terms of years, like 3, 2, 5, 1, 4, etc. Now the next thing is owns property. So this is basically it's to check if the what sort of collateral does he can offer the bank uh, against the loan. So whenever you go ahead and you go for to apply for a loan, you also always have to mention what collateral you're going to keep. So this is mentioned over here. So you can have a savings insurance. Then it could be a real estate. It could be car. It could be multiple other things which he has kept as collateral, which have been approved. That is all mentioned over here. Now, this is the age of the applicant. What age? What is the age of the applicant? This is mentioned over here. And if he has installment plans, other installment plans, like with other banks or stores, sometimes they purchase some equipment from a store and they take it on an installment plan. So that all is mentioned over here. And this is the housing. So like if he owns the house, or if he's staying for free, that is he's provided accommodation, he or she's provided accommodation by the company they are working with. So that is mentioned over here. If you're staying on rent, so that all is mentioned here. And the existing credits account. So this is basically if He has a credit history with the what is the credits he has with the bank that is mentioned over here, and the sector of job he's employed in, whether it's a skilled, whether it's management like self-employed, that means he's running his own business. So this is just about that. And then dependents, how many dependents does the applicant have? And this is telephone. So in case of telephone, this might be a little confusing. It's mentioned none or yes. The reason is because this data set is from 1999, and at that time, not a lot of people had telephones, and I'm talking about landlines. So it was very rare. It wasn't common to have telephones then because it was new. It was new, something not everyone could, not something not everyone had or something everyone could afford. So that's why it's mentioned over here if he has a telephone or not. So that mentions what is the mode of communication that is to be used with this applicant. And the next thing is a foreign worker. So whether the applicant is a local or is an expat, that is all mentioned. So if he's he's from a different, he or she is from a different nationality and they've come to work in this country, and as use this data set is from Germany. So whether they are Germans or they have come from outside Germany and they're working here, they're foreign workers, he or she. So that is mentioned over here. And what is the risk? So if this was flagged by the bank. This was not automated. This was done by a bank by reading the profile of the applicant, and they have marked risk or no risk according to what they have analyzed. So this is the input from them. So this is was the we what is supposed to be marked. If it's no risk, then the loan would be approved, and if it's of risk, then the loan has less chance of being approved. So this was done by the bank then. So for now, we're just going to be doing data refinery. We're going to be exploring the data set. So you're not going to be trying to predict this predict over here. But usually, if we go ahead in this process of data science, the objective would be to mark the applicant as risk or no risk. That would be we would be flagging them with risk or no risk. So this is the data set actually. This is about the data set. And I hope by now you have all created your IBM Cloud account. So if you have created your IBM Cloud account, I want you all to write one in the chat. So please go ahead and write one in the chat so that I can proceed ahead. So let me know once you've created your IBM Cloud account, and I will give you a few seconds over here. So I'll just wait for a few seconds so that you can all take your time to create an IBM Cloud account. And if you have done so, please write one in the chat. I'll wait for your responses. Yes. So I see one in the chat. I hope others are also following along and creating accounts or in the process of creating accounts. So please let me know so that I can proceed ahead once you have created your account, and I'll show the next step. So I do not see a lot of ones, so I'm not sure. Okay. Yes, I see some ones coming up. Yes. I hope more and more people are be able to create the account and uh, they have started. So let's proceed with the next step. So for a hands-on session today, we'll be using Watson Studio. So for that, once you've created your account, you see this dashboard over here. So you can see, a list of tutorials or the links to IBM Cloud Shell, or link to some other features on IBM Cloud. So you can go ahead and you can explore this over here. And then you have the resource summary, which is how many resources you've already created. So if you have an existing account, you might have created some resources, and they'll be all be listed over here. So I've started fresh so that I follow, it's easier for everyone to follow along. So you can see all the list of resources I've created, which are none so far. And if there's any planned maintenance with any features that is mentioned over here, and the user access. So if I can share the setup which I create on IBM Cloud with, you can enter, you can shared with multiple users, and up to a time you can add up to 100 email addresses, and you can keep adding them in slots, so 100 slots of 100 at max. And there's some news about IBM Cloud and any cool features coming up, and some recent support cases and the IBM Cloud status. There are no issues, so we are good to go. And the usage. So once you have created your IBM Cloud account, I want you all to go on the search bar over here and type Watson Studio. I'll explain what is Watson Studio, but firstly, let's create the service, because it takes some time. So through them, it takes you create the service. I'll explain what it does. So you can, under catalog results, you'll see Watson Studio. So you can click on Watson Studio, and once you click on Watson Studio, just wait for a few seconds till everyone has searched. Yes. So once the Watson Studio creation service creation page loads up, you'll have this option to, under Create, to select a location. So you can go ahead and select Dallas, uh, and the plan could be light. That is sufficient for our work hands-on session today. Do not require anything more. So you're not required to enter your credit card information or any payment details anywhere. So you can select light plan, and once you scroll down, you'll have the service name. So this is the name of the service you'd like to give, Watson Studio service name. So you can change it. So I'll name it Data Refinery, that is, or Data Cleansing, because that is the purpose of the workshop today. So I'll just name it Data Cleansing. And the resource group is default. And once you're done with all this, you can see on the side there's a summary which says Watson Studio free, location is Dallas, the plan is light, and the service name is Watson Studio Data Cleansing, and the resource group is default. So once you're done with this, you can click on Create. So I'll just explain what is Watson Studio. So if you want to read about Watson Studio, it's you can go about the About section. So it's basically a service that helps you, with your data and AI projects. So you can use this Watson Studio to create your own data science projects, your own AI projects, and it has a lot of features available which you can integrate into your project. So you can use Jupyter notebooks, dashboards, and today's session we're going to be showing you how to use Data Refinery and lots of other features which we'll explore. So you can go ahead and you can create a Watson Studio service and use this for your data science projects. So I'll go back to Create, and then I'll click on Create, and we'll give it a few seconds. So if you also done, once you click on Create and you're done creating a service and the page like this loads up, please write 2 in the chat. So I'll wait for a few seconds, and I'll wait for you to type 2 so that I can proceed ahead. And I hope everyone's following along and everyone's on the same page. So if any of you have any questions or any issues, do let us know in the chat. I'll try to address them as soon as possible. So please let us know in the chat, and also drop a 2 if you have created your Watson Studio service and a page like this opens up. So yeah, I'm waiting for your response in the chat. So let me know once you have, created a Watson Studio service. Yeah, please drop a 2 in the chat if you have your service open and ready to go. And once you drop your 2, I'll proceed ahead. So I'll just wait for 30 seconds more, then I'll proceed ahead. Please write 2 in the chat if you're done. Yes, so I have seen the first 2. So I hope more people are following along and they'll be able to create the service. So let's proceed ahead. So once you're done creating a service, you can see the documentation over here. So you can see the wide variety of data and AI tasks you can perform. You can explore all the tools and features in the and you can read about them in the documentation. And we also have a gallery of sample projects, notebooks, and data sets. So if you're looking to explore and you start your data science journey and you're looking to, try out some projects so that you can get familiar with the environment and how to proceed and how it works. Yes, so you can just click on explore that in the gallery. So, and if you want to upgrade your plan, you can go to the plan and upgrade. But for our workshop today, the light plan is sufficient. So once you're done, click on get started. And I see a lot of other tools are coming up. That's nice to see. So let's click on get started and we'll wait for the page to load up. Till then, more people can, I hope you're able to create your Watson Studio service. So till the time this loads up, you can use this time to, create a service. So yeah, once this page opens up, you can click on close this dialog box and this page opens up. So once you click create your Watson Studio service and you click and it opens up the service, you click on get started, you see this page. So it says welcome my name and you can learn by example. So if you're learning, you can try out some guided tutorials which are available over here. And you can create your own projects. You can create your own services, which we'll be doing today. I'll be showing you how to do in a few minutes. And you can see all the new projects in the gallery, the notifications, the recent projects I've worked on, the services I've created, and any deployment spaces I've created. So you can see all this over here. So I'll zoom in a bit if it's tough to read. So yeah. So I hope you're able to read everything. Screen the size is better. I'll just zoom in once more. So I hope you are all able to understand this and create your Watson Studio service. So next, let's go to create a project. So we click on projects, or you can go to quick navigation over here, or you can also click on the navigation menu on the left hand side top corner, and you can click on projects and you can click on view all projects. So both the ways are fine, whichever you prefer. So I went through the quick navigation, or you can, but the other option is also to go to the navigation menu, click on projects and view all projects. And over here, all the list of all the projects I've created are available over here. So what we're going to be doing next is we're going to click on a new project. So we're going to click create a new project, and I am going to create an empty project. We're going to start from scratch. So if you want to take it from a sample file, you can also do that. But for our session today, we'll be creating an empty project. So I'm going to click on create an empty project. And I'll just wait for this page to load up. And I hope by now you can also go to the project and create your own, click on create a project. You've done that. And so we'll have to define the details of our project. So over here, I'm going to say, German credit data. That is the name of the project I want to give. So that is German credit data. And I can give a project description. And you can write that, but I'm not going to be doing that. It's not required, it's not compulsory, but it really helps if collaborating with other people and you want to share the details about the project. And you can click on restrict who can be a collaborator. You can add collaborators to the project. I'll show that to you in a few minutes. So you can click on restrict so that only some people can add collaborators, not everyone can add. Or if you don't want to give the right give this privileges to everyone to add, because there might be some projects that are confidential. So you can restrict who can add collaborators from this. And the next thing is you're going to define a storage. Now, the project we have created and all this needs to be stored somewhere. And for that, we need to create a storage service on IBM Cloud. So you can see define a storage over here. And you can click on add a storage under, under select storage service, you can click on add. And once you do that, a link should open up. This is similar to the Watson Studio creation page. And you can click on the light plan and you can give the storage service any name. And I'll just keep it as it is, whatever name it's given. And I will click on create. So again, you just need to select the plan that is light, that is sufficient. And you need to give the service a name and you need to click on create. And you can read more about this service over here about. So I mentioned already, it's in the cloud storage service, and it is used to store our data. So you can store, manage, and access your data very easily, and this and can be accessed by other clouds, IBM Cloud services also, which you give the permission to. And once you go over here, you can click on create. You can create, and once you do that, let's wait for it to create. And once you're done, it'll close the tab for you on its own. I can click on refresh. And once you click on refresh, it'll connect the cloud object storage service, and the create button will turn blue for the project. So once you're done with that, click on create. And this will take a few seconds. So if you are following along, and once you're done creating your object storage service and you click on create project, please drop a 3 in the chat, and let us know, if you're facing any issues, or if you're able to create the service easily or not. So let us know in the chat, and we'll help you out if there are any issues. So yeah, please drop a 3 once you're done. Hello, uh, Hashim, Naira, can you hear me? Do let me know if you can hear me now. Yes. Sorry about that. I'll share my screen again and we'll start again. So I hope by now you have created your project, the Watson Studio project, and you have uploaded your data set. So if you have uploaded your data set, please drop a 4 in the chat, and I'll wait for 30 seconds and we'll proceed ahead. So do let me know if I need to repeat again. So I'll just repeat again in any case. So you click on find and add under assets. You go to find over here. You can see hover over this 0100 icon. You can click on find and add data, and you can click on browse, and you need to upload the data set which you have downloaded from the GitHub repository. So once you're done with that, you'll see the data set over here. It'll show upload successful. So do drop a 4 and let me know once you have uploaded your data set. Yes, I see some 4s. So you're able to upload a data set. Yeah, yeah. So let's proceed ahead. So what I want you to do is click on the data set over here. You can see when you hover over the data set, you click on this and it'll open the data set. So it'll take a few seconds to load the data. So till then, I hope all of you have uploaded your data set. Do drop a 4 in the chat once you're done uploading the data set and you open the data set also. So you'll see the schema. So it previews only the first 1,000 rows and it has 21 columns. Uh, so once you're done, so on the right hand side, we have the information, the eye icon. When you click on the eye icon, it shows the information and you can click on close. So you have the data set over here and which we have gone through. So I'll not go through it over it again. So we have the data set which is uploaded over here. So I hope by now everyone's uploaded the data set and they're able to open it. And now what we'll do is we're going to click on refine. This is how we're going to be working with today. So the data refinery tool is already integrated when you upload a data set. So once you click on refine, it'll open the functions and features for data refinery. So I'm clicking on once you click on refine, it'll start opening the data set in the data refinery tool. So it'll take a few seconds. So let's wait for it to load. So yeah, so it's previewing the first 50 rows. So I'm just going to so this box that appearing over here. So you can see the data set is loaded, and we have something like profile and visualizations. I think it's taking a few seconds to load. So you just wait for it to load. So till then, I hope you have all uploaded your data set and you have clicked on the refine icon. Yes. So now my data set has been uploaded and I can now work with my data and I can refine it. So I can go ahead and I can start making changes. I can start doing some exploratory data analysis with my data now. So what? So I'm going to show you how data refinery helps. So data refinery basically automates the data preparation cleaning process for us, and we'll be doing some steps today, and you see how it works. So let's say our data. This is our data set, and you want to do some operations on data to cleanse and shape our data. So now, usually, when we work with Excel or we work with R, with Python, we need to write some code over here. So if you're familiar with R, it's not compulsory you need to know R, but if you're familiar with R, I'll show you one thing. So once you go to the data repository, so if you scroll down, so there's a syntax over here. You go to the step number 2, refine data. Under refine data, you'll see this uh, code over here. So you just copy this code, which is it's similar in R. So if you're familiar with R, you'll be familiar with this. And you go over here and you can paste it over here. So you can paste that over here. It's very simple. You can go ahead and you can paste this over here and you can click on enter, or you can click on apply, sorry. So once you click on apply, it basically it filters all the records where the credit history is credits paid to date, where the customers have paid their credits. So it filters all that. So you can see it's only that that's been done over here. Now, as I mentioned, this was using a syntax. Now, what if you're not familiar with R? You want to do it? You can still go ahead and you can do this. So I'll just let's say this is a step which has been done. So I want to delete the step. You can see the bin icon over here. You can delete the step. So you can delete the steps that have been conducted. So if you see, automatically it has converted one or more columns from the info data type. So there were strings that have been converted to decimal because there was a decimal symbol present in the values over there. So this is done on its own. Whereas in Excel and other tools, we have to do it on our own. So Data Refinery, it reads your data and it does these steps on its own and makes it very easy. Uh, so yes, one question I see in the chat is what exactly does refine do and can you customize it? Yes, once you click on refine, we'll be showing you the steps that you can do to refine your data. So you'll be able to clean your data. You can prepare your data for your model, and you'll be also able to do some profiling and visualization in your data, which I'll be showing you how to do. So that's why we click on refine over there. So this was a question in the chat. I hope that's addressed, and I'll show you how to do it now. So coming back to what I was doing. So as I mentioned, if you're not familiar with R and you still want to clean your data, you can still go ahead and do it. It's a very easy process. So you can click on this blue icon over here and you click on operation, and you can click on filter. And once you click on filter, you can see the condition one. So the condition is credit history uh, is equal to and the value. So we'll write credits underscore paid underscore to underscore date. So I'm going to write this and I'm going to apply. Click on apply. So this does the same thing. It's only there are different ways of doing it. It's just that this was done using R syntax, which you can do if you're not familiar. If you're familiar with R, it's easy. If you're not familiar, you can easily go to operation and you can do that too. And as you saw, I can go to operation, I can go to filter, and I can write the condition. And again, this is mentioned over here, the step which I've done. So it's the same step. There's no difference. Only thing is the process we're done was different, but the output is the same. So there's no difference. You can do whatever method you prefer. So next, what we want to do is you see the data set over here. Now over here, the gender of the applicant is mentioned, and for our uh, model, we don't want to take this into account because the loan should not be marked as risk or no risk on the gender. That will be biased, and we do not want that. So we want to delete this uh, column from here. So what we can do is operation. Again, click on operation, and we can click on remove, and we can select the column we want to drop. So we can select sex, that is the attribute, and we can click on next, and we're going to click on apply. So once we do that, it filters all the records which all the it removes, it drops the attribute for all the records, so that it plays there's no bias in the model we're trying to train ahead. So now the filter which I put, it's only for credits paid to date, and I want to train for it for all records. So I can just go ahead and delete this again, and I have created the cleaning process now. I have done that. So I want to drop this column from my data set, which I feel will play no role. And the second thing is, let's say telephone. So in that point of time in 1999, it might have played a role, but now in today's time, we see this attribute is not very important, the telephone attribute. So we can go ahead and we can drop this column too. So we can go ahead on operation, we can go to remove, and we can select telephone, and we can click on next, and we can apply this also. So so now I've dropped two columns for all my records very easily just by going ahead and selecting. And this was done because I tried to familiarize myself with the data set and with the objective ahead. So as I mentioned at the start, it's very important to familiarize yourself with the project and the data set, and to know what is the objective of the project and how this data set and each attribute will play a role. And as I feel these two columns would play no role in my model ahead, I'm going to be dropping these columns. And it's very simple by, when we click on refine, and with data refinery, it's very simple to drop our columns. So you do not need to select each record individually or need to select the column. We can just do this and it can drop. So now this process which I've done, it's a repetitive process which I might have to do for every time the data set new data comes in, because the columns would be the same, and I would want to do this. So me doing this again and again can be repetitive and tedious, and I would want to repeat the step which is very simple, but spend my time doing it and my energy doing something uh, which is which is very which is very boring or tedious. So what I can do is I'll go on this icon over here. You can see jobs. You can click on the drop down menu, and you can click on save and create a job. So I'll wait for it to load. So now what we'll do is it's going to associate data set is the data set we're going to be it's been associated with, and I identify this job as data cleaning. So this is a job of this function. So it's going to click on next, and the input is the CSV file which you uploaded, and this is the output that is going to generate. It's going to generate a new CSV file, and the environment is Data Refinery default environment. And next, schedule. So do you want to schedule this? Actually, I don't want to schedule this for now. I just have this data, so I'm going to click on next. Do I want to be notified about get notifications for this job? For now, no. I'll click. I won't switch it on. And this is these details about the project. And what I'm gonna do this? I'll click on create and run. This is just a summary. So what this does is the steps which I've done over here. That is removing the sex column and the telephone column. It's going to do this for other data sets, and I've created a job for that. So I've created a job. So each time a new data set comes in, I can just run that. So I don't need to open the data set individually and run the same steps again. So once the data set comes in, I can just run that job, and I can say, I want to run this particular set of steps and run this for multiple data sets which are the same attributes. And this way I can automate the cleaning and the data preparation process for my models, and I don't have to repeat the steps again and again, the same steps again and again, because it can be very boring and very tedious. So I've saved and created a job, and now I have done that. So once I'm done with that, I will go on to the project. You can navigate on the project like this, the hierarchy, and you can see that over here we're going to have the refinery flow, the output. So once it's over here. So you can see that you can clone the job, you can repeat the job, and this is the output over here. So once you click on this, it'll just load the output, and you can see, and you can edit just change the input file which is coming in, and you can run this again and again. So this is how I've automated the cleaning process for my data. So each time a new data comes in, and I can automate this process by not repeating the steps. I can just create a job and just run the job. So I just need to upload my data and run the job. So I have reduced my work, and also it saves my time and energy in doing that process in the task. So now I'm loading the data set again. I will be proceeding ahead. So if you have saved and created a job, please drop a 5 in the chat till the time we wait for the data set to load. So I'm just waiting for the data set to load. So please drop a 5 in the chat if you have saved and created a job. Or if you have any questions, do drop in the chat. I'll try to address it till the time the data set takes time to load. Uh, so I hope you're all following along. Now you're able to create a job. So now again, I'm going to click on refine. And I'm going to wait for the data set to load. So yeah, so now we have automated we have cleaned up data, and we have automated the process. Now the other tools of data refinery, which is what we're going to explore now, are profiling and visualization. So I'm going to show you how that's been done. I'm just waiting for my data set to load again, the data refinery to load. Yes. So it's once it's done, I can go to profile over here. Once you click on refine and you go to data and you see the profile over here. So now this creates the profiling for my data on its own. I do not need to create charts. Usually, when you're working with other tools, you need to go ahead, you can select the data set and you need to create individual charts for each. But over here, it does this on its own. So you can see the frequency, you can see them statistics individually for each attribute. You can see the standard deviation and it does it. So this is something, it shows the unique values, and it does this for all the records that are there, for all the attributes that are there in the records. So you can go ahead and you can check it out over here in the profile section. So you can see all this existing savings, employment duration, installment percent, others on loan, and nearly all attributes are over here. So what I can go ahead and see, the profiling is done. Now I want to see more, create more visualizations with my chart. So you might have heard that, picture speaks 1,000 words. Similarly, a chart usually represents, it's easier to understand and represents the entire thing in a simplified manner, which thousands of records of data might be tough to analyze and read for a person. So it's because of visualizing a data, it's very easy to explain someone or to others, what this data is trying to say or what the insight we are getting from this data. So once you go on visualizations, you can see the chart type. So for now, we'll just select scatter plot, and you can see columns to visualize. So over here, it's a drop down menu, and you can select. So I want to select the loan amount. Let's say I'll just loan amount, and then I want to select the next column. I want to select. I can just add this thing and select loan duration. And once I'm done, so it shows the available charts and I can click on visualize data. So it creates my visualized data. Now I want to explore, do a little more, visualization with this. So I can click on color map and I can select the risk as to differentiate between the loan amount and loan duration, the risk. So it says risk and no risk, and it shows, what is the loan amount of duration for us. And now I want to try a different chart. So I don't need to start all over again. It's for the same columns. I can just click on show all charts over here and I can select something different. So let's see what we can try. So let's try a bar graph. So I'm going to go this over here and I am going to select the category. So the loan amount, sorry, the risk. And I can see the risk over here compared to non-risk, and the count we can see. So these many people are with risk and these are people with not risk. And it can you can also try out different other options available over here to play with the graph, and you can create different visuals, different graphs over here. And once you're done, you can also download the chart image. So this is the chart details, the chart image. So let's say I can download the chart image, and now I'm going to open the file. So now, yeah. So now my chart which I've created has been downloaded. So I can easily share this with other people. So you can do this, or you can also create multiple charts on this dashboard. So I can just click on add over here, and I can over here, and I can add it over here. So if I want to, I can do that. But for now, for the interest of time, I'll just conclude it over here, and I'll give it back to Hashim because we are a bit short on time, and he'll conclude. So let us know if you have any questions in the chat, and we'll try to address this. So over to you, Hashim. I'll just stop sharing. Hashim, are you there? So Hashim is not able to unmute himself due to some technical issues. So I will conclude the slides. So I'll just share my screen again, and I'll just go into presentation mode. So to summarize what we have done in this session, we have gone through data science and the subsets of AI, which Hashim explained us really well. And then he went over through the data science methodology, and then he went to various types of data, like structured, unstructured, and everything. And then he addressed the problems which we have face with data every day, and how we can handle those data. And in the hands-on session, we explored what is IBM Watson, and we saw the demo of IBM Cloud Pak for data and the various features, like how to use various tools. Like I showed Data Refinery and how we can use Data Refinery to profile our data, to clean our data, and to visualize and create various graphs with this data set. So this was to summarize what has been done in this session so far. These are some useful links. We'll share this in the chat, and this will also be coming up in the follow-up email. So we'll share all these resources with you. And these are contact details. So you can go ahead and you can contact us. So I'm there. My name is Mridul Bhandari, and I'm available on LinkedIn. I'm also available on Twitter. My handle is @MridulRB. I'm also available on GitHub @MridulRB. So you can reach out to me on any platform. And my email ID is also mentioned over here. That is mridul.bhandari@ibm.com. And similarly, Hashim's contact details also mentioned. He's available on LinkedIn. His profile link is available over here. We'll share this in the chat. And his GitHub handle is also available. And his email ID is also available over here. And also, we would like you to scan this QR code and or go to this link, that is ibm.biz/data-refinery-survey, and fill the survey form for us, and let us know how we did and how what we can improve and what topics we should focus on, so that we can cover topics which are of more interest and which are more beneficial to you. So you can do this by you can fill the survey by just taking your phones and your phone cameras and scanning the QR code and redirect you to the link. Or you can go to this link, that is ibm.biz/data-refinery-survey. The link is also shared in the chat. So you can go ahead, you can click on the link and you can fill the survey. It will take less than a minute, but it really helps us understand, how we can uh, fine tune our sessions more to your interest, and to how we can address the issues which you're facing and focus on topics which are of more interest to you. So I'll share this. All this will be shared in the chat, and this brings us to the end of the session. And there's a question that was addressed, which said, "What exactly does Refine do, and can you customize it?" So Refine is basically when you click on Refine, it opens the Data Refinery tool, and w- once you open the Data Refinery tool, as we saw in the session, we were able to clean our data, we were able to profile the data, we were able to visualize and create various graphs with the data. And this was done very easily by just selecting, and there was no code, there's no coding required, and so everyone can use it. Any person who with no programming experience or knowledge can also use this tool very easily, and he can use it to clean the data, and he can go ahead and he can use it to create models on this data after cleaning it. And as data pre-processing, cleaning is a very major step, and it takes a lot of time. We're always looking ways to reduce the time that is spent on this process. And Data Refinery is one such tool which really helps in doing so, because it reduces the data preparation, data cleaning time significantly, and also eases the process. And you can automate the process also by using this tool, and thereby saving our time and energy, of our time and energy, and which we can devote to some other things in the project. So this is, I hope I answered your question, and that it is, I hope you were able to clarify all the doubts you had. So I'll just share the details in the chat, and I'll stop sharing my screen. I'll share the details in the chat, and you can reach out to us if you have any questions. So our contact details are shared in the chat, and I'll also share the useful links. So please fill the survey form and do let us know. And I hope you had a great time with us, and you really understood how, and you found this session really useful. So thank you, and see you next time.